Hey everyone, it's Kellen Brower here from RacerX, back again with Race Examination, where we break down a few of the more intricate details from the race at Fox Raceway and throughout the season. So join us as we take a look at some of the action here from Fox Raceway 1 National. And I wanted to key in on the 250 starts, mainly Max Vohland starts, his first career pro motocross race. We didn't really see him get too many great starts in Supercross, but he ripped the whole shot in his very first gate drop in Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Outdoors. And he had a good gate selection for it, obviously, so not too difficult to pull it out from the middle, but I wanted to actually focus on his second moto start after his bike expired in the first moto. He had a way outside gate pick, and he still almost got the whole shot. Much tougher to do, especially in a switchback corner like this. You don't really have much control over what's going to happen with the inside. They might push wide, but he committed to it and sent it to the outside. But again, I just wanted to break this down a little bit, because it wasn't so much about how good the start was comparatively to those around him. I just wanted to focus on how good the start was compared to the guys on the inside. Even though he's way on the outside, he's still got daylight in this side view, and it just runs out of room essentially because they have the inside line and the marker there. But how about that for Vohland in his first career pro motocross race to actually just get two great starts like that? Didn't let the attention get to him, and able to get out front early on and lead most of that first moto. Second thing I wanted to key in on the day was Adam Cianciarulo's crash in the first 450 moto, and kind of how it happened, because Cianciarulo himself talked about it and breaking down whether or not this was the same shoulder that he crashed on in Supercross or not, because I saw that question raised as well. So coming out of this corner at the top of the hill, he had already gotten like an 8-second lead and loses the front end on exit, and actually has a pretty big one, augers in coming down the hill. He said he'd run into some arm pump a little bit later on, but again, breaking down whether or not this was his shoulder that he crashed on in Supercross or not, it was not. Outdoors, lands on the right shoulder. Indoors, lands on the left shoulder. Of course, he cracked his collarbone when he landed on the left shoulder. Indoors, had to get it plated, but fortunately is back out racing and didn't actually get hurt with that crash outdoors. But I wanted you guys to hear from Cianciarulo himself what happened, and here it is right here.
About to drop down the hill in the back, just leaned over, just crossed the turn. I was like super stoked on it. Got to the end of the turn. I was dragging my foot peg in the dirt, and I literally dug up a rock with my foot peg as I was coming out, dropping down the hill, and so it like caused my bike to pitch.
So how cool is that? You have these riders doing vlogs now, and they give you real insight to what happened in their race in a crash like this situation, and I love hearing that from these guys after the race is over and they bring it up on their YouTube channels like this. I want to remind everybody that this video is presented by OnX Off-Road. Nowhere to go with the #1 off-road GPS app. Access 400,000 plus miles of trails and roads, open dates, and public lands. Download the OnX Off-Road app today. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was this battle to the flag between Chase Sexton and Dylan Ferrandis at the end of the first 450 moto, just because I love a good old-fashioned kind of drag race to the finish line jump. We always kind of highlight those. You talk about Pike and Canary back in Daytona a few years back as well. But this one was so close. Sexton just missed out on winning this first moto by .099, but Ferrandis wins his first ever 450 moto in the 450 class, so that's kind of a cool tidbit there. They kind of shake each other's hands. Ferrandis is like, man, that was a little bit closer than I wanted. David Villeman, his trainer, gives him a little bit of love there. But coming down to the flag, this looked very much like a Mad Skills motocross race to me, because there's ruts on the jump. So these guys are just trying to get the rear tire to the ground and get as much speed up to the finish line jump as they possibly can. Love a good finish like that. But let's talk about this Ken Roczen, Aaron Plessinger, and the red and white wheels on the ground flag situation from 450 Moto 2. They were getting to the ending stages of this race, kind of battling each other, and there you see a couple red and white flags waving, and then another one right here before the finish line jump. Roczen gets a little sketchy in case it's a finish line jump, and there was question marks as to whether they would get a penalty or not. Now, neither did get a penalty, but let's kind of explain why. So first of all, let's break this down a little bit slower and see, when does the flag actually go out? So as these two come into this corner here, this guy is yelling at the orange guy to come over and wave the flag, and then they start putting the flag out just as Plessinger's coming by. So I'd argue they were already past the flags before they came out. And then this one right here, the flag is out in the middle of a transition, but it's a little hard to see. And technically speaking, they also are about to clear the incident, which is right before the finish line jump. So once they're past the incident, they can continue jumping again, which is likely why it was deemed that neither of them actually committed an infraction here. But I wanted to bring in some rules into this situation because it differentiates from what we see in Supercross versus what we see in motocross. So in the Supercross rulebook, here in Supercross rulebook, this 4.16E subset 5, If in a red cross flag or red flashing light situation, the riders must do all the obstacles individually, i.e. no doubles, triples, step on, step off, etc. until clear of the incident. And then what it goes on to say here in subset 9 is that if race direction determines that there was a blatant violation of this rule, the penalty for non-compliance will be, and this is what Ken Roczen was upset about when he got penalized in Supercross earlier this year, because he didn't feel it was blatant. But in this situation, because it's a main event race or moto here, no positions were gained. The penalty will be the points and purse equal to 2 positions in the final results for that race, plus 2 additional points. The difference is the AMA Supercross rulebook and the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross rulebook are different. So here is the Pro Motocross rulebook, which says when the red and white flashing lights are waving indicates a potentially hazardous situation. Riders must proceed with extreme caution. Both wheels of the motorcycle must remain on the ground over obstacles until the rider has passed the area of concern. Passing is not allowed, of course. This flag and or flashing red lights takes precedence over all other flags that will be displayed, so above yellow flags. And then the penalty for the violation of the flag may include, but not limited to, loss of championship points and or race positions as determined by the race directors. So the race director has a final say on all of this. And of course, as we know, the race director determined that Roczen and Plessinger both were not in violation of this rule. The last thing I wanted to talk about from the Fox Raceway 1 National was Jett Lawrence's pass on Justin Cooper in the second moto, which Jeremy Martin basically repeated the exact same thing a lap later. But this pass was my pass of the day by far for both of them. I would give it a tie for each because this commitment level to the outside to double onto the backside of this jump and pile it into that inside rut while maintaining balance, not blowing the rut, is insane. There's so much more technical ability here involved than you really realize, because they have to look at Jett here. He has to backside this double, get on the brakes hard, and lean into the corner all the while and just get stopped for that corner. He stops so fast for the inside of that corner, and I think maybe Jeremy Martin's was a little bit more impressive, and I'll show you why in just a second, but Jett makes a pass for the lead there and continues on his way. And then J Mart, a lap later, does the exact same move on Cooper because he's trying to follow Jett out front. But look at this. So J Mart, he's coming down pretty much side by side with Cooper and just commits a little bit farther. But you saw Jett was a little bit more maybe like kind of in control coming into the corner. But I slowed this down a little bit more because Jeremy, look at how far leaned over he's going to get, still standing coming into this corner on the brakes and just coming to a stop in a matter of no time at all. Look at how far over he gets leaned into the corner and just lays it into the rut and continues on his way. Both passes magnificent. Great stuff from Fox Raceway, and looking forward to seeing more at Thunder Valley.